As she entered, a hush fell over the classroom. The boys stared at her with a mixture to smash her. Angel's heart began to beat super fast. What is happening? Angel was the star student of School of Hard Knocks Academy, an all-girls and boys secondary school known for its high standards. At 17 years old, she stood out not only for her striking beauty but also for her intelligence. She had always been at the top of her class, working hard to maintain her position as the most brilliant student. Every morning, Angel would wake up early, put on her neat school uniform, and head to school with determination in her eyes. Her long black hair was always neatly tied in 2 top buns, and her face glowed with natural beauty that required no makeup. As she walked through the school gates, heads turned, and whispers followed. "There goes Angel," her classmates would say. "Always perfect, always the best." But she paid no attention to these comments. Her focus was solely on her studies. In class, she always sat at the front desk, so she could absorb every word the teachers said. Her hand was always the first to shoot up when a question was asked, and her answers were always correct. But lately, something was different. The boys in her class began to take more interest in her. They would whisper from the back seat trying to catch her every intention with sweet words and sly smiles. At first, she ignored them, because she had no time for comments. But one day, Maya, her best friend, walked over to her desk with a mischievous grin on her face. "Hey, Angel," Maya would say, leaning over to Angel's desk. "You've been sitting here all day. Come on, let's go grab lunch." Angel hesitated, her pen still in hand. "I'm just finishing this assignment," she replied, not looking up. Maya raised an eyebrow, still flipping through her notebook. "You know, the boys are always staring at you, right?" she said casually, as though it was no big deal. "You could get anything you want if you just used your beauty a little. No more studying hard and no more sleepless nights. Just look at how these guys follow you around, didn't you like it?" Angel frowned. "What do you mean, and who told you that I am interested in them? Whoops. You know the next class starts at noon, so I have to rush this." Maya grinned. "Angel, all this is a wasting of effort. Just use what you've got. Especially Toby. He can get you anything you want. Why do you think he's always staring at you?" Angel thinks for a moment. She has never come across this comment. She has never thought of using her look to attract boys. But wait, Maya. I don't think this would work. Why should I leave my studies because of a boy?" Angel countered. Maya shrugged lightly. "It's just a suggestion. Anyway, let's hit up McDonald's for lunch, I'm obsessed." Just as Maya was waiting, Angel mind flashes back to how she promises her parents about the future. How she would become a doctor one day, in the future. For days, Maya's words echoed in her mind. She couldn't shake them off. And she wasn't used to thinking this way. Her focus had always been on getting high grades at school and studying hard to hit the best in class. But the more she thought about it, the more she began to notice the attention. The boys would pass by her desk, trying to make her laugh, throwing in compliments about her beauty, about how she looked like a model. It wasn't long before Toby, the most popular guy in school, started showing up near her locker every day. He had that flash charming smile, almost irresistible. "Angel, you know, if you ever need help with those books, I'm happy to assist," he'd say, his voice low and smooth. She felt the tension rise inside her, torn between her studies and the temptation of his words. Angel felt something stir inside her, a mixture of excitement and hesitation. She knew she should stay focused on her studies, but his words were tempting. One day, as Angel sat in the bustling cafeteria, she absent-mindedly picked at her food, lost in her thoughts. Maya, her best friend, leaned in closer, her voice low and conspiratorial. "You're wasting your time with these books, Angel," Maya whispered, her breath warm against Angel's ear. Angel turned slightly, confused by the sudden closeness. Maya's eyes flickered towards Toby, who was chatting with a group of friends at the far end of the room. "Look at Toby. He's interested in you," Maya continued, her voice dripping with a mixture of concern and something else. "But you're not doing anything about it. He could change your life. You wouldn't have to worry about grades anymore. You'd have everything you want." Angel's gaze shifted towards Toby, who caught her eye and gave a subtle smile. Her heart skipped a beat, But she quickly turned her attention back to her lunch, trying to shake off the thought. A strange flutter stirred in her chest. What if Maya was right? Maybe this was the easier path. Maybe this was how the world worked. It didn't take long for her to make a decision. She started paying more attention to Toby. He began offering her rides home and buying her snacks during lunch. Each time he smiled at her, she felt a rush of excitement. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. She was used to the quiet admiration of her classmates, but Toby's attention was different, more intense, more personal. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the empty streets as Angel walked beside Toby, her footsteps slow and hesitant. The sound of their shoes against the pavement was the only noise breaking the quiet. As they reached the bus stop, Toby turned to her, a soft smile tugging at the corners of his lips. His eyes lingered on Angel for a moment, his gaze intense, yet casual. "You know," he began, his voice smooth, almost teasing, "you're the most beautiful girl in school." Angel paused, looking down, a faint blush creeping up her neck, though she tried to hide it. Toby's words hung in the air like a heavy promise. "I wish you wouldn't hide behind those books all the time," he continued, stepping closer, his voice lowering with each word. "You could have it all if you just let go and had a little fun." She hesitated, his words offering a way out of the pressure she had been living under. It felt easy. Just for once, she thought, why not? Maybe she could balance it all, her studies and her beauty. The following weeks were a blur. She began spending more time with Toby, skipping study sessions to hang out with him after school. The boys in class stopped whispering behind her back, they were too busy chasing after her. She started getting attention in ways she had never imagined, and for the first time, she felt powerful. But she didn't realize how quickly things were changing. One day, she realized she was late for her period. Her stomach felt strange, nauseous. She pushed it to the back of her mind, too busy with the boys, too busy with Toby, to think about it. But the feeling didn't go away. After missing several more periods, she started to panic. She went to Maya for help. "Maya, I think I'm pregnant," she whispered, her voice trembling. Maya's eyes widened, but then she laughed, "You're just overthinking it. Maybe you're stressed. Relax, okay." She wasn't convinced, but she kept quiet. She didn't want to be seen as weak. She couldn't lose her reputation. Eventually, she could no longer hide the truth. Her belly began to grow, and the rumors started spreading. One afternoon, the school principal, Miss Agata, called her into her office. Toby was also summoned, his face red with nervousness. "I've heard disturbing rumors about you too," Miss Agata said, her voice stern. "It seems you've been skipping classes. And Toby, there are accusations about your involvement with Angel. Is this true?" Toby, who had once been so charming, now looked uncomfortable. "I don't know what she's talking about, Miss Agata. I don't know her that well. She's just a classmate." Her heart sank. He had denied everything. In the following days, Angel's world fell apart. The rumors grew louder, and the whispers more intense. Her reputation was tarnished, and she was no longer the top student. Her classmates whispered about her and called her names behind her back. Even the teachers stopped looking at her the same way. Angel's dream of becoming successful and graduating with honors seemed farther than ever before. Her parents were devastated by the news of her pregnancy, and they couldn't protect her from the harsh judgment of the school and the world around her. Her life was no longer about books and grades, it was about survival. Angel had no choice but to leave school. She moved to a new area and started life all over. After Angel left the school, her life became an endless cycle of work, survival, and reflection. The first few weeks were the hardest. Her pregnancy made it difficult for her to find a stable job, and the reality of her situation hit her like a ton of bricks. She was no longer the bright, ambitious student who had dreams of becoming a doctor or an engineer. Now, she was a young, single mother trying to survive. She found a small apartment in the IKA market area, a place where she could make a living sewing clothes for the local traders. The rent was cheap, and although it wasn't much, it was enough to keep her head above water. She started working long hours, sewing dresses, trousers, and shirts, trying to make ends meet. Her fingers were often sore from handling the needle and thread for hours, but she had no choice. She had a child to take care of, and no one was going to do it for her. At first, Angel felt a sense of shame. She was far away from her family, her school, and her old life. Every day she worked, she felt the weight of the decisions she had made. How could she have let herself fall into this trap? How could she have let Maya manipulate her so easily? What had happened to the confident, determined girl who had been at the top of her class? As months passed, Angel began to settle into her new life. Her child, Jasmine, was born during the early days of the rainy season. She named her daughter after the delicate flower, a symbol of the hope she still carried despite the difficult circumstances. She wanted Jasmine to have a better life than the one Angel had started with. She wanted her to dream bigger and never feel trapped by her own mistakes. Angel's days were a blur of work and motherhood. In the mornings, she would wake up early to feed Jasmine and get her ready for the day. Then, she would head to the market to start sewing clothes. The market was always busy, with traders shouting prices, customers haggling for deals, and children running around. But to Angel, it felt like a world that no longer cared about her dreams. It felt like a world that was moving on while she was stuck in the past. But as she spent more time in the market, Angel began to feel a quiet sense of satisfaction. She was working hard to provide for her child, and she was starting to rebuild her sense of independence. Slowly, she started making a name for herself among the traders in the market. People began to seek her out for their tailoring needs, and she began to feel some pride in the work she was doing. Despite her attempts to move on, Angel's past kept creeping back into her life. One day, she received a call from an unfamiliar number. It was Maya. "Angel, I need to talk to you," Maya said, her voice tense. Angel's heart sank. She hadn't spoken to Maya since she left the school. She didn't want to hear what Maya had to say, but something in Maya's tone made her agree to meet. A few days later, Angel met Maya at a small cafe just outside the market. Maya looked different, more worn, like she had been through a lot herself. Her once bright smile was replaced by a nervous frown. "Maya, what do you want?" Angel asked, her voice flat. Maya sighed. "I know I've messed things up, Angel. I never meant for things to go this far. I wanted you to experience what I had. The power, the attention. But I didn't know how bad it would get." Angel looked away. She didn't want to hear Maya's excuses. "Maya, I'm trying to survive. Do you know how hard it is to raise a child alone?" "I know," Maya whispered. "And I'm sorry. I never thought it would come to this. But I've been hearing things about Toby. He's been telling people that he had nothing to do with it, that you were the one chasing him. He's even told people he never slept with you." Angel's heart sank. Toby had denied everything. Even after everything they had been through, he wasn't willing to take responsibility for their actions. She had thought he cared, but now she realized he had only used her for his satisfaction. She had trusted him, and now she was alone. "Don't talk to me about him," Angel said, her voice shaking with emotion. "He was never there for me. And now, I'm stuck here with a child and no future. Do you want to know what happened to me? I was just a pawn in his game." Maya reached out to touch her hand, but Angel pulled away. She couldn't forgive her friend for this. Maya had led her down a path she never wanted to take, and now her life was irrevocably changed. A few weeks after her conversation with Maya, Angel decided to visit her old school, School of Hard Knocks Academy, one last time. She needed to see it for herself, the place where her dreams had been shattered, the place where everything had changed. As she walked through the school gates, she felt a rush of nostalgia.